It's my algorithm, but I see Shiloh and Shedeur more than I've ever seen any undrafted guy or fifth round guy on social media in the history of Instagram, Threads, Twitter, X, whatever it is. Like, those dudes are everywhere. And they caught some of Deion's strays, right? Deion had a level of greatness that was untouchable. Right? Deion could say, yeah, I'm not interviewing with these people because I'm not going to be there in the draft. Deion could say, hey, I already ran 140. I ain't effing with no more of this testing because y'all already know I'm top 5 and it ain't tripping. Watch the film, know who I am. That's the difference between, I think, Deion and who his kids were. And then I think Deion's approach to it made other people, Deion's fame, right? Deion's success, Deion's ability to one day be a head coach in the league. Also, Deion's ability and what he's done in navigating the present, right? When we talk about college of his children and now going into the pros, this is the first thing he couldn't control. And
don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. Man, when I first heard Ryan Clark say that, it stopped me cold. You ever hear something in the NFL world that just makes the room go quiet? That's what this was. This wasn't your typical analyst fluff, no hot take meant to fill a segment. This was the quiet part, the ugly part being said out loud. And the way Clark dropped it, you could feel the weight. Because let's be real here. This wasn't about Shedeur Sanders' release time, or whether he processes at an NFL level, or any of the normal pre-draft nitpicking. No, this was personal. It was targeted. And for the first time in a career built on controlling the narrative, Deion Sanders couldn't touch it, couldn't spin it, couldn't protect his son from it. Think about that for a second. Coach Prime, the man who redefined swagger in football, who walked into the league as a rookie and told NFL teams, I'm not running that drill because I'm already top 5, just sat there powerless. And the NFL's old guard, they'd been waiting for this moment, waiting for the day Prime couldn't dictate the terms. And when Shedeur's name came up in that draft process, they pounced. Ryan Clark's breakdown peeled back the curtain, and I'll be honest with you, it made my blood boil. Not because I'm naive about how this league works, but because it confirms something a lot of us suspected. There's a good old boys playbook in the NFL, and when you embarrass them, when you outshine them, when you don't play by their rules, they wait for their chance to settle the score. And they didn't go at Prime directly. No, that would have been too obvious. They went for his son, a 21-year-old kid who's done nothing but play his heart out. 6 different coordinators in college, brutal offensive lines, still putting up numbers that make scouts double take. But instead of talking football, they leaked whispers about character and personality. Stuff you can't prove, but you can't disprove either. The perfect smear. That's why Clark's words hit like they did, because it wasn't just analysis, it was an admission. It was someone inside the system saying, yeah, this was calculated. And the look on Prime's face in that interview, man, you don't see that from him. Not ever. This is a man who's always been untouchable, suddenly blindsided. For fans, this isn't just about a quarterback prospect. This is about fairness, about legacy, about a league that talks family and brotherhood, but behind closed doors will use your family against you if it serves their agenda. And now that mask is off. The question is, now that we've seen the game they're playing, what's Shedeur gonna do about it? And more importantly, what's he already done to make them this desperate in the first place? Let's cut through the noise right now. This was never about Shedeur Sanders the quarterback. This was about Deion Sanders the man, and the weapon they chose to hit him with, his own son. If you followed Shedeur's journey, you know the kid's resume speaks for itself. 6 different offensive coordinators, not 2, not 3, 6. And every single time, he adapted, learned a new system, and leveled up his game. That's rare even for seasoned NFL vets, let alone a college quarterback still trying to build chemistry with his team. In those offensive lines, brutal, some of the worst protection you could ask for. The kind of O-lines that get other quarterbacks rattled, panicked and benched. But Shedeur, he stood in, took the hits, delivered the ball, and kept putting up numbers that made NFL scouts pay attention. So if we're talking purely football, the tape says one thing, this kid can play. But during the draft process, what was the conversation? Mechanics? Decision-making? Nope. Suddenly it was all about character and personality. Now if you're an NFL insider, you know exactly what that means. That's the perfect smear. Why? Because you can't prove it, and you can't disprove it. There's no 40-yard dash for character. No combine drill for personality. All you need is one whisper. I heard he came to a meeting unprepared. Or I heard he wears headphones too much. And that whisper becomes a rumor. That rumor becomes a concern. And suddenly teams are just doing their due diligence. And here's the kicker. Those concerns almost never leak on accident. They're planted, quietly, strategically. A front office exec tells a reporter off the record, there are some questions about maturity. The reporter doesn't need proof. It's coming from a team source. And before you know it, it's on every draft preview show, every mock draft breakdown, every social media thread. It's invisible to most fans because it's not obvious. You don't see the strings being pulled. All you see is a wave of character chatter coming from different places, all at once, and you think, man, maybe there's something to it. But look closer. These weren't football evaluations. These weren't people breaking down his pocket presence or decision-making. These were precision strikes aimed at reputation. And when you realize Shedeur wasn't the real target, it all makes sense. This was about sending a message to Coach Prime. You embarrassed us. You didn't play the game our way. Now watch us take what matters most to you and drag it through the mud. The scary part, this tactic works. It's worked for decades. But the question is, did they forget who they were dealing with? Because if you think Shedeur Sanders is just gonna roll over after a hit like this, you're in for a rude awakening. When Deion Sanders said those 3 words, it did hurt. It landed like a gut punch. And not just because of what they meant for football. This was prime time we're talking about. The man who never flinched. The man who built an empire on swagger, on confidence, on controlling the moment before it controlled him. For decades, Deion dictated the terms. But in that interview, for the first time you could hear it, the crack in the armor. This wasn't Coach Prime the headline maker. This was Deion Sanders the father, watching his son be used as a pawn in somebody else's petty chess game. Think about that. The Sanders name has always been a crown. In football, it meant you were untouchable. It meant you'd earned respect the hard way, by being the best on every field you ever touched. But now, that same name became a target. The legacy that once opened every door suddenly gave his enemies the perfect weapon to strike him where it hurt most. And this isn't just a Deion thing. We've seen it before. Michael Jordan's kids faced expectations they never asked for. Ken Griffey Jr. carried the shadow of his father while still carving his own greatness. The difference here is that Prime's kids didn't just inherit pressure. They inherited resentment, not from fans, from inside the league, from people who've been waiting years for the chance to humble him. That's why this hit different. This wasn't criticism of Shedeur's game. That's part of football. This was personal. This was targeted. This was grown men settling old scores with a father by going after his child. And here's the thing. Deion knew it. That's why those words "it did hurt" felt so heavy. This wasn't the sting of a bad game or a coaching loss. This was a wound to his identity as a dad. Because Deion's entire life from his playing days to his coaching career has been about control. Controlling the narrative, controlling his image, controlling his destiny. But here, he couldn't stop it. He couldn't protect his son. That's a different kind of defeat. A public one, because everyone saw the whispers and the headlines, but also a deeply personal one, because it's the one battle you never want to lose, the fight to shield your kids. And the scariest part, Prime's not the only one who's felt this. Every parent watching knew exactly what that moment meant. That helplessness, that frustration, that realization that sometimes, no matter how powerful you are, the game will find a way to hit you where you can't defend. But if you think this story ends here, you're wrong. Because for Deion Sanders, pain has never been the final chapter. Here's the thing about trying to bury a competitor in the NFL. Sometimes all you do is make them impossible to ignore. And that's exactly what happened with Shedeur Sanders. The smear campaign, the whispers, the so-called character concerns. It didn't push him into the shadows. It shoved him straight into the spotlight. Think about it. For a supposed fifth-round guy, Shedeur's face, his name, his clips, they're everywhere. I'm talking more visibility than some first-round quarterbacks. More mentions on Instagram, Threads, and X than rookies who were hyped as the next big thing. Ryan Clark wasn't exaggerating. We've never seen this kind of media presence for a late-round pick in recent memory. And you know why? Because every critic, every hit piece, every so-called insider report gave fans a reason to click, a reason to watch, a reason to say, wait a second, what's really going on here? This is classic underdog energy. We've seen it before. Tom Brady carrying that 99th pick chip on his shoulder. Aaron Rodgers remembering every team that passed on him. Jalen Hurts proving every draft day doubter wrong. The difference here? Shedeur's not just fighting for respect. He's fighting for his family's name. And that's a whole different level of motivation. And now, look at the setup. Cleveland. A quarterback room that's anything but locked down. Joe Flacco. He's not the long-term answer. Kenny Pickett? Unproven. Dylan Gabriel? Talented, sure, but raw. That means Shedeur has what every great comeback story needs. Opportunity. Not as a clipboard holder, as a real contender. The beauty of this, every rep at training camp, every preseason snap, every highlight throw is going to be personal. Every touchdown will carry the weight of every rumor. Every eye roll, every so-called source who tried to cut him down before he ever took an NFL snap. And if you think he's going to shy away from that, you don't know the Sanders DNA. Here's the truth. They tried to make Shedeur a cautionary tale. Instead, they gave him the perfect origin story. They handed him the villain edit before the movie even started. And now all he has to do is flip the script. Because every time Shedeur threads a pass between two defenders this season, there's going to be a defensive coordinator, a GM, maybe even a former teammate watching and thinking, we helped create this. And that's the sweetest revenge of all. This isn't just about winning a roster spot anymore. This is about making the league remember exactly why you never bet against a dog that's been backed into a corner. And trust me, this dog is coming for everything they said he couldn't have. This is no longer just about a quarterback battle in Cleveland. This is
is bigger than camp competitions, preseason reps, or depth charts. What's coming isn't just football. It's a test of whether the NFL's politics, its old guard whisper campaigns, can actually stop pure undeniable talent from breaking through. Because here's the reality. Shedeur Sanders isn't walking into 2024 as just another rookie. He's walking in as the most talked about so-called afterthought we've seen in years. He's got a fan base that's been forged in fire, fueled by months of slights, shade, and smear jobs. And now he's got the one thing those people never wanted him to have, a stage. I've been saying it for weeks. If Shedeur balls out this season, everything changes. The same insiders who questioned his maturity will suddenly call him wise beyond his years. The same analysts who said he couldn't lead an NFL huddle will start breaking down his command of the offense. The same scouts who called him a project will act like they saw this coming all along. That's the game. The NFL loves a redemption arc, especially when it can pretend it always believed in the hero. But here's the twist. This redemption arc isn't for them. It's for us, the fans who saw through the noise from day one. And make no mistake, the stakes couldn't be higher. If Shedeur delivers, if he puts the ball where it needs to be under pressure, if he uses that poise we saw at Colorado and turns it into wins in Cleveland, he won't just be proving himself as an NFL quarterback. He'll be blowing a hole straight through the idea that the good old boys can still decide who makes it and who doesn't. Every snap this season is going to feel like a statement. Every third down conversion, every 2-minute drill, every perfectly timed deep ball, it's all going to be layered with that energy of I told you so. And you know what? Fans are going to eat it up. Browns fans, Sanders fans, even casual NFL fans who just love watching someone torch the system. So here's my call to you. Watch every game. Watch every drive. Because this isn't just Shedeur's rookie year. This is the revenge season. This is the year a young QB turns every insult into fuel, every doubt into highlights, and every opportunity into proof that real talent doesn't wait for permission to shine. They wanted him to be a footnote. He's about to write his own headline. And when it happens, remember, we were here before the spin, before the apologies, before the we always knew narratives. This is Shedeur Sanders' revenge tour, and it's just getting started.